Okay, today we're going to change the ignition coil and wires on my 2.4 liter Jeep Wrangler. So I'm getting really bad misfiring on all cylinders after I come to a stop, and then I start moving again, especially when I mash the throttle pedal. It will misfire and it will only stop once I let off the gas. I already changed the spark plugs about 6 months ago, and I should have done this at the time, but I didn't. So now I have to take everything apart again just to change the wires in the ignition coil, and we'll see if it's going to make a difference. So let's get started. So the first thing we have to do is remove the airbox, this thing right here, and to do that there is a nut there I need to remove. I need to take this sensor connector off and then loosen this here, and then this whole thing will come off. I'll need to take this off too. I will probably take this section off first just so it's less bulky and gives me more room to work. Okay, so I just took this out. This was a 13mm. When you are loosening this, hold on to this, because look, if I press that down, it'll just fly up and you could lose this somewhere if this flies up. So make sure you hold on to this when you're loosening that. And this should give me enough room to take this off. Okay, with that done, let's get on this bolt here. Let's disconnect this first. And just slide it out. Now I'm going to take out this bolt. Let me disconnect this. I forgot to mention there's a little tab right in the back here. Press down and then it unlocks it so you can take it off. Alright, let's figure out what needs to be, what socket we need for that bolt. So it's the same 13mm, but I remember I couldn't really get my socket on it last time. So when I tightened it down, I just did it finger tight and used an adjustable wrench to tighten it up just a little bit, so I wouldn't have so much issue taking off the next time. So that allows me to just take that off pretty easily. And then, yeah, you can see that's loose now. So just got to take that off, and then we can take this box off. And there we go. So first of all, let me disconnect the sensor for the idle air controller, and then the throttle position sensor. I broke that clip, by the way. So don't force that off, because I didn't press this tab when I was taking it off, so I broke this. So this doesn't actually lock anymore. So even with that lock, you can take it off. So be careful when you take these connectors off and don't break anything. So the bolts to the throttle body are 10mm, and this one's tough to get to, so I have to use an extension. I'm going to start with the bottom one just because it's going to be the most difficult. Wasn't actually on there that tight. Cool, and that's that. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. This is the ignition coil. This is cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see how the wires are routed here. Plus, this is also labeled. So that says, you can't really see it, but that says 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we're going to start taking these off, taking the wires out. Then we'll take the bolts out here, unplug it, and then we'll take this off. And then this connector is just like most of the other ones on the Jeep. Okay, so I was pushing the tab the wrong way. It doesn't go this way, it goes this way. So it's just easier if you take the gloves off. See, there's a little tab that comes out. Then there's also a little tab here you just press on. And this should pop out. There we go. So that's the connector to the ignition coil out. And now I've got to unbolt those. Now there was one thing I forgot to do, which you should do, and that is cover this so you don't get a bunch of crud and dust and dirt in your intake manifold. And then this should just come off. There you go. And this is the new one. Let's get this back on and get everything back together. So once you've done that, just go ahead and snug them down. They don't need to be too tight, and you don't really want to make them too tight, just in case you break something. So. Yep, that's not moving anywhere. Replace the connector. As you can see, these wires are different lengths, and I didn't pay much attention to which ones are which, but I'm pretty sure these are 2 and 3 because they're the shortest, and these are 1 and 4 because they're the longest. So if you notice that they're not long enough, you may have them mixed up. So another thing I should be doing really is putting dielectric grease on here. I am not doing that because I'm having a misfiring issue, and if you mess up the dielectric grease, then you could have a misfire. So I'm probably going to make sure that my misfiring is cured, and then I'll come back and put these put the dielectric grease back on these. Just want to make sure that this fixes my issue first. See, there's one thing I wanted to show you. I took a picture of this setup before I took it off, which is always a good idea. And I noticed that these wires were in this hole. So you see, like that. So I'm gonna put it back the way they're supposed to go, like that, because as you can see right now I have them just sticking up. They're not in the slits there. So I'm just going to refer back to the photo I took, make sure these are all oriented the right way, so it looks kind of like it did at the factory. One thing to note is when you're putting these on, make sure you hear them click. These ones may not click. I heard them with mine. If I pull it out, you can hear a little click, I guess, but these ones these are much louder clicks, so make sure you hear them click when you push it in, otherwise it won't connect very well. Okay, before I put the throttle body back, I'm just going to put some oil on the rubber gasket there. When I took this off initially, changed the spark plugs a few months ago, I noticed there was oil on the inside of this, like clean oil. So I'm guessing the last person who did this most likely put some oil there to kind of just seal it, the kind of same way that you do when you put when you change the oil and you put a new oil filter on, they always say run a bit of oil around the gasket there to help it seal. And considering we don't want any kind of air leaks between the throttle body and the manifold, then I'm going to just oil this up a bit to make sure it has a good seal. So make sure you do that when you put this back as well. Try not to get any oil inside the intake manifold though. Just be careful not to cross thread them when you're putting them in. I'm just gonna make these hand tight so I can get the bottom one in, which is a bit more difficult because if you drop it, you'll probably have to take the throttle body off again. So let me see if I can do this with my finger. Yeah. So I can get it in the hole and then it will just sit there so I can tighten it up with this. And again, don't make this too tight. I don't have the specs, but this wasn't very tight from the last time I did it, so just kind of snug it down a bit. Then we just go ahead and reconnect the throttle position sensor and the idle air controller. And then the last thing is the airbox. When you do the airbox, that's for the airflow sensor. This tube here, I don't know what this does actually. And then the nut there, and then you're all done. When it comes to changing the ignition coil and your wires, that's how you do it on a 2.4 liter Wrangler. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.